Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Previously, we began a new case, and the Great Exhibition in London has begun. Unfortunately, someone died in a laser accident, so, it looks like we have a new defendant, some scientist by the name of Hairbrain, and the victim was, Mr. Stinky. Now, his name is Odie Asman, and I thought odious at the time meant stinky because I thought it was odor, but no, it's actually just like unpleasant. But no. Unfortunately for him, it's too late. He's Mr. Stinky forever. Anyway, now we're gonna go talk to Barak von Zeeks. He survived an attempt on his life and managed to survive with the aid of a masked individual, so it's kind of weird. Oh. We can go to the prison and speak to Hairbrain, I believe. But no, I want to go to see Van Zeeks. So, if Strawnheart here has, like, a death boss room, I'm expecting just full-on Dracula boss room for him. I mean, the guy even throws his wine glass, like... What is a man? A miserable pile of secrets, you know? But, come on. You know, that's actually kind of pleasant. But I think he has a floor-to-ceiling painting of himself, so that's a bit egocentric. Oh, so this is the legendary Reaper's office? Yes, it appears so. Ah, it sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it? What an amazingly deathly atmosphere. Oh, is that... Whomstiv? That hooded figure was so still I hadn't noticed his or her presence. I wonder who it is. What are you doing here? Ah! Hello. His scar is much easier to see when he's posing like this. It took me a long time to notice it existed in the court scenes, but no, he really does have a face scar. He's as unwelcoming as I thought he'd be. Actually, maybe even more so. Oh, I'm glad to see you're well. I am. So, who's the person over by the wall being punished for something or other? No punishment is taking place here. Oh. That's my apprentice, and he's sitting there of his own free will. Ah, an apprentice! Huh. I didn't know you had an apprentice. Yeah, that's definitely the masked figure. It must be the same person who was pictured in the newspaper. He's very able in combat, a requisite skill for anyone under my tutelage. Are you referring to the attack on the Reaper that was reported in the papers? The Reaper? I'd be interested to know the Reaper's true identity myself. Assuming that is such a fabled fiend genuinely inhabits our great courtrooms. Well, that's fair. Looks like he has a little model of the death laser. That's neat. It's like, didn't this happen like yesterday? How did we get it made so fast? Let's take it left to right then, shall we? Look at that fine collection of hallowed chalices and bottles neatly lined up there. My hallowed bottles are filled with the essence of the finest grapes from the finest vineyards I visit. And I personally oversee these chalices being made by the finest crystal craftsmen in the world. And yet you throw them around in court like they were worthless. Yes, because this imbecile is so unimaginably and repeatedly wide of the mark sometimes. You haven't lost to me once. Come on. Oh. Before you open your mouth next time, you should consider the poor artisans whose work you defile. That's some grade A victim blaming. So it's my fault? Silly me, how could I ever have thought otherwise? Lord Van Zeek's desk. Look, it's so stylish.
And that's a marble chess set beside it.
Chess? That's the Western version of our Japanese shogi game, isn't it? You know, I'm actually quite good at shogi problems.
Oh, really? You'd probably like chess problems in that case.
I love to challenge Lord Van Zeek sometimes. To a bout of shogi problems.
If you really want to challenge yourself, you can always do that on your own at home.
That portrait really dominates the room, doesn't it? Well, if the face is that obscured, maybe I'm wondering... Wait a second. Wait a second. That red color of the coat, the white cravat, is that supposed to be an homage to Edgeworth? I feel like it is. No, actually I think that's just a Jan Van Zeek's. It's a very majestic outfit and pose, but sadly, whoever painted it didn't do a very good job of capturing Lord Van Zeek's facial features.
Yes, you're right. I mean, it's not far off, but the artist has exaggerated his subject's handsomeness, I think.
Ah, that reminds me. I heard Emperor Napoleon of France ordered artists to make him look more attractive when they painted him.
How vain. That's really not an attractive quality in a person, is it?
That portrait does not depict me. Surely that's immediately obvious. Oh, then who is it? Your father? Your brother? It could be definitely a family member.
Oh, look, it's a scale model of the Great Exhibition Showground.
That's amazing. I wonder why it's here.
Perhaps he made it to take his mind off the sadness of being too busy to attend in person.
Or perhaps he's too embarrassed to queue up for a ticket. Surely it's obvious that I'm using it as an investigative aid.
Ah!
You Nipponese have no business painting others as overly reserved. Ugh, I really didn't think he'd overhear that. I'm sure the sound carries quite well in this room. Oh my god, are those bats? Those are bats. It really looks like a punishment to me.
I've never seen someone sitting like that before.
He hasn't moved a muscle since we arrived. Do you think perhaps he's dead?
If he was dead, Runo, he wouldn't be sitting up, would he?
Well, anyway, dead or alive, he's not overly approachable, is he? I don't think he's going to talk to us.
He's not dead.
God damn it. He's not dead indeed. Okay, I have thoughts. I have thoughts. Okay, so a few things. One, this chapter's called Return of the Great Departed Soul. So that could refer to, hey, you know what, the whole thing with the laser, it was about transmitting someone to another location. Maybe Mr. Stinky will come back to life, as it were, and show up later, having been transported. Or it could refer to some other dead character returning to life. 2, you know when you watch a TV show and a previously on segment happens, and one of the segments in that previously on bit is a scene from an episode like 2 seasons ago that you thought it was like a dropped plot thread, and oh, well, clearly if they're showing me this, that means it's going to be super relevant. Well, I was kind of thinking that with that scene of remembering how Kazuma died on the ship and all that. And 3, when a character shows up who is masked with a hidden identity, there's really only 2 reasons to do that. One is to do that cheap below the belt shot playing on a audience's prejudices and reveal, oh, the mysterious figure was a woman the whole time, haha. But no. Van Zieks just said he's a man. He has no reason to lie about that. The dude's a man. And 2, the other reason that a masked character could appear is that it would be someone the audience knows, and you want to keep their identity surprised. And 4th on the list of things I want to talk about, I have not forgotten that weird little, seemingly inconsequential detail that the practitioner, the autopsy man on the steamship Burya, was apparently a rookie and inexperienced. And the report from him detailing Kazuma's death and all that, well, it came from that inexperienced person. So, all of these combined, I am forced to believe, just forced to believe, that this figure sitting here, in a Japanese style I might add, is Kazuma Asogi. Oh, and he's good with a sword, too. You know. Like how Kazuma was? Okay, I know katana skills don't translate to Western broadsword skills, but in the land of anime and rule of cool, it does, okay? I don't know how to feel about this if it is true. I'm like 99% sure this is Kazuma right here. Like 99% sure, but if that is true, how do I feel about that? My first gut instinct is to want to say, like, completely undercuts a lot of Ryunosuke's character development. Like, sure, Ryunosuke has worked himself very hard. He has diligently tried to live up to Kazuma, or his idea of what Kazuma represents. And the death has shaped him and Susato quite a bit. It is one of the most defining moments in their entire lives. Kazuma colors everything that they do. Doesn't going, surprise, he lived, kinda mess with all that? Okay, so right now I just have to assume that the writers are cooking something. I need to trust and see where they're going with this. Wah! They were bats! That was cool.
Yes, the Reaper's familiars, I expect.
But what about the mute man in the dark cloak? I thought he was the familiar. Just not the flying kind.
He must be a dear friend of Mr. Reaper, then.
I think the familiar idea is more likely. Scary, though, either way. Look at all those ancient casks lining the wall there.
casks in the Reaper's chamber? Or are they caskets?
You don't think all those people who escaped conviction in court are lying inside them dead, do you? What ridiculous notions are going through your head, man? This is my collection of fine vintages. Oh, yes, of course. Thank you for clearing that up.
Bruno and I were just musing to ourselves. Don't mind us, Mr. Reaper.
I wouldn't if you hadn't invited yourselves to my office to talk nonsense within my earshot. Yeah, look at it from his perspective. We just walked in here, greeted him, then just helped ourselves to a tour around and gossiped. Let's present stuff first. Oh, this is gonna be good. I know you've seen this around my arm before, but what is it exactly? It's the mark of a defense lawyer, in Japan at least. And what's your reason for showing it to a British prosecutor? Oh, well, I don't know really. I can understand at least. There's merit in reminding yourself of who helped you become what you are today. Oh. But that's a personal matter. Something you may want to keep close at all times, not something to flaunt. No, I suppose not. Thank you for understanding, though. Lord Van Zeeks, about the article in this paper. Ah, yes, it seems there was a reporter nearby when that little skirmish took place. I had no idea I'd been photographed. It was careless of me.
It looks as though it was taken after the people who attacked you had run away, though.
Rest assured, the police have already apprehended every last one of them. But there's someone else fighting alongside you, it seems. And I think it's the same man who's sitting over there as we speak, isn't it? As I mentioned already, he's my apprentice. Perhaps you could tell us a little more about him? Okay, last then. Lord Strongheart said that the assault last night was some sort of revenge attack. True, carried out by henchmen of Mr. Stinky's criminal organization. The investigation meant their arrests were imminent. Presumably, some hoped to kill me before that happened. Mr. Stinky. He's always masqueraded as one of London's most powerful financiers, a global investor. But his enormous wealth came to him by underhand means, by his criminal activities.
And he used that money to buy himself a verdict of not guilty when he found himself in court, didn't he? Being prosecuted by you, Mr. Reaper.
But the man got his comeuppance in the end. Yesterday, in fact, in extraordinary circumstances. It was a most unusual cause of death. I know about that. It was super high voltage instantaneous kinesis gone wrong. Mr. Stinky died when the demonstration on the public experimentation stage ended in an enormous explosion. Correct. And you think I have some kind of divine ability to cause an accident like that to happen, do you? Well, no, that does seem a little far-fetched. If this man really is the fabled Reaper, then he has to be innocent of this particular death at least.
It's strange how this has worked out, isn't it, Bruno? I mean, what with you taking on the professor's defense for the trial tomorrow?
What? You're going to be defending him? Oh, Yes, that's right, though I barely know the man's name yet, to be honest. Albert. Albert Harebrain. That's right. I wonder if the Albert comes from Albert Einstein. That's right. Do you know him by any chance? Of course. He's a contemporary of mine. We were at university together. You're...
What?
Well, hey. I understood that Professor Harebrain was from Germany, though. Harebrain's from a respectable British family. After graduating from the University of London, he moved to Germany to carry out research, that's all. So you were students together? I was in the Faculty of Law, of course, and he in Science, so our paths rarely crossed. But curiously, we got along, though I have not met him since my university days. I certainly didn't expect our next encounter to take this form. And with you, of all people, representing him. Ugh, only if I make it out of this office alive. He's actually been charged with murder, it seems. Yes, I know, because the prosecution will be handled by me. Oh, what, we didn't know this already? Of course it will. By you? But you made it sound as if you and the professor had been friends. We are friends, it's true. Then why would you do this?
If the Reaper is the prosecutor, there's nothing anyone can do to save him. He's doomed.
What's Lord Van Ziek's thinking? Tell me about the Reaper. What do you mean by what you said before? If you'd like to know the Reaper's true identity, does that mean... I'm a crown prosecutor and a mortal like any other. I'm no demigod.
But they've all died, haven't they? The people you've prosecuted, I mean. Whether or not the trial ended in a conviction or an acquittal.
Those I prosecute are the vilest wretches of our society. People who without question deserve to be found guilty. The world is a better place without them. I mean, tell that to Sosuke. Okay, well actually no, this guy hates the Japanese, so maybe that tracks with what he's saying. In his logic it makes sense. Crap. But that's not true of Mr. Natsume, for example. He wasn't a vile wretch at all.
Nor was Ginny. In fact, she's ever so hard-working now.
Hey, name drop. I think that's the first time this game has named her. I can't deny that since I encountered you, things have taken a turn. But the point is this. If any of those vile wretches that escaped justice subsequently died in mysterious circumstances, it was at the hand of their own kind. It's not my work. Lord Strongheart said the same. He believes you're not involved in any way.
But you were attacked by those ruffians because they believe it's true.
The fact is, since people started to call me the Reaper of the Bailey, the number of serious crimes in the capital has dropped substantially. Oh. It would appear that even the most hardened criminals can be made fearful for their lives. Do you mean to say... I mean to say that if my pseudonym serves a useful purpose, I adopt it gladly and with honor. I like that. But it's putting you in danger. You could be killed. If that is my fate, let God decide. Lord Van Zieks. Okay, your apprentice. Tell me about him. He's in my tutelage to become a prosecutor. So you could say he's my apprentice, I suppose. We're looking at an amnesia plot, aren't we? It's amnesia, isn't it? I mean, Kazuma was hit in the head pretty hard by the beam of that bed.
Like you are to Hurley then, Runo.
I don't remember taking an apprenticeship with a great detective. He's currently compiling a report about last night's attack. It looks like he's wearing some kind of mask. On Lord Strongheart's orders. Nobody knows the man's face, or indeed his identity. But why would you agree to take on such a clearly suspicious individual? Lord Strongheart's orders again. He's not one for meaningless follies. There will be a good reason for his actions. I hope you're right. That looks cool. Cool mask. The task is complete? Good. In that case, you can collate all the briefs. Nice to meet you? Okay, so he didn't say anything out loud, so Ryunosuke would not recognize the voice, or not have a chance to, rather. And boy, I'm not about to pull up a side-by-side, but the face shape kinda looked like Kazuma, kinda. Back to work again. That was really strange, though. I've never met the man before. I didn't even know he existed, and yet somehow it didn't feel like our first... Okay, well, sure, okay, God. Didn't feel like our first encounter. It's him, it's Kazuma. It is. Don't bother trying to converse with him. He says nothing to anybody from outside this office. Lord Strongheart has strictly forbidden it. Oh, I see. Why are you so interested in my apprentice anyway? Huh? Oh, no, I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to. The way he stood there was so casually, yet with that flawless posture. It couldn't be. Okay, we're not dragging this out, are we? Yes, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. Oh, what's that? That Nipponese man, is he faring well? Sorry? The one arrested twice in succession 6 months ago, with the stoop and the mustache and the jitters. Oh, Mr. Natsume, you mean?
I'm not sure he'd be very pleased to find out you identified him from that list, Runo.
He's fine, thank you. In fact, I received a letter from him by international post only the other day. I see. Well, I think we can end our discussion there, don't you? There's little time left before tomorrow's trial. I advise you to spend it investigating the case. Yes, thank you for the advice, and for the conversation. I can't believe he's asking after Sosuke-san, after a Nipponese. I'm not sure whether to feel happy about that or worried.
I never imagined that Mr. Reaper would be friends with a mad scientist, did you? That's a turn up for the books.
A mad scientist? Oh, you mean Professor Hairbrain? Yeah, that... God, that's in the name, man. Yes, it might be worth quizzing the professor about his relationship with Lord Van Zieks, I think. Well, fair enough. Let's move. So we can't go to the exhibition yet. Fair enough. The warden said cell 11. That's this one.
Oh, there's someone curled up in a ball in the back corner, look.
What's his name again? Professor Albert Hairbrain, wasn't it? Excuse me, Professor Hairbrain. Who are you? I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
A lawyer!
Ah! Was it something I said?
A lawyer, you say? What do you be here? About the experiment? Are you going to defend my hypothesis?
Not your hypothesis, necessarily. Your hypothesis? Sorry, I don't...
Yesterday's demonstration! That magnificent demonstration was... It was an out-and-out success by anyone's calculations. But despite that, no one listens. No lawyer believes in the science. When it's explained, they all leave at high velocity.
Now's probably not a good time to mention that your zeal made my concentration leave for a while, too. He looks so much like a Pokemon character. I don't know why, it's just something about the way his face is drawn. Well, let's present some stuff.
Ah, fascinating, yes.
In Japan, where I come from, it's the symbol of a defense lawyer. Wearing it is very bracing, I find.
Your words make some sense to me, but they are entirely illogical.
What do you mean?
Well, for example, I find this white laboratory coat that I wear for my work very bracing too. However, in my case, there is a perfectly logical reason for that feeling.
Oh, really? What is it?
I purchased the wrong size by mistake. This one is too small for me. The sleeves especially are extremely bracing. I can barely move my wrists.
Oh, wrong definition of bracing. That's what you call logical, is it?
Of course, it's entirely logical. That's science, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, whoops. I can't help but notice that the way he posed for the picture is exactly like how he's standing right now.
Oh, how could this have happened?
You must feel awful. As well as the man losing his life, the Crystal Tower was greatly damaged too.
I know what happened. It must have been that.
That?
The day before the demonstration, I had my usual meal of frankfurters at the hotel restaurant. When I paid the bill, they gave me 3 shillings too much in change. But instead of saying anything, I just slipped the coins into my pocket. They're still there now. It's divine retribution for my wrongdoing, that's what this is.
For a scientist, he has some very illogical anecdotes. Long and illogical. I like this guy. I like him a lot. You mentioned the demonstration yesterday.
The papers have called it a spectacular failure. After all, a man died in the explosion, didn't he? Ah! Yes, you could interpret the results that way if you really wanted to. Well, I suppose in the strictest sense.
You know, when growing up, I always heard about nail biters. Like, a film would make you bite your nails, and teachers would instruct some of my fellow students not to bite their nails. And I was like, okay, so that's a thing people do? So, at some time or another, I would try nibbling on my nails to see what the hubbub was about. I never understood. And I still don't, frankly.
The experiment was a failure, but at the same time it was great success.
You've lost me.
I saw it with my own eyes, right there in front of me. Mr. Stinky was spontaneously disassembled. Boy, that is one way to put it. Until then, everything was going exactly as my calculations had predicted. At that point, he should have been beamed to the Crystal Tower by instantaneous kinesis. However,
the machine exploded and Mr. Stinky in fact perished.
Yes, I can't deny that part of the experiment was a failure.
So what you're really saying is the large explosion that killed Mr. Stinky was an accident, correct?
But the bigwigs had you arrested on suspicion of murder. I was responsible for the man's death. That is the immutable truth here. And for that I wish to be punished at once. But... murder? Never in a million years. It was an accident, simply an accident.
I see.
Hurley and I were talking this morning, you know. He said the situation would change completely depending on whether it was treated as an accident or murder.
How exactly?
Well, if it really was an accident, then the professor's machine would be kept in protective custody.
On what grounds?
Ah, yes, it's newly established here in Britain, the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act.
The... Okay, that doesn't spell anything. That one passed me by.
But if the case is treated as murder, then they'll say my machine was the murder weapon, and they'll be able to pore over it as much as they like. If they examine it in detail, they'll find out how it's made, and then they'll be able to copy my idea. My precious hypothesis will be stolen. The machine must be protected from that at all costs. That's why it's imperative this whole incident is shown to have been an accident in tomorrow's trial.
Ah, I see now. So, tell me about your project. So, in short, there was a terrible accident at the Great Exhibition showground yesterday.
Yes, or rather, no, the devil is in the details. Strictly speaking, there was a terrible explosion.
Sounds the same to me.
You were demonstrating super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, right? Weren't you? How fascinating. Humans, like all matter, are made up of particles that are held together by electrical bonds. So it must be possible, using a sufficiently high voltage, to break those bonds and beam the particles through space. That's it in a nutshell. That's my idea, you see? That's my amazing hypothesis.
Gosh, that's unimaginably high-level science.
Oh, but dare to imagine it! Dare to dream of such incredible technology! Just think, one moment I could be here in this cell, and the next I could be at the Great Exhibition again.
Well, yes, that would be incredible.
And the next, in the mere blink of an eye, I could be at the Great Parisian Theater, say. The possibilities are endless. The whole of our vast planet would be within reach.
So no more hiding in wardrobes on rocky seas for 50 days.
Huh, I don't really see it like that.
What do you mean, Iris?
Well, if you could travel anywhere in the world instantly, the planet wouldn't really seem vast anymore, would it? I think it would feel like it had shrunk.
My word! That's exactly right! What are the implications? What does this mean?
Oops, that got Professor Bunnybrain really worried by the look of it.
Bunnybrain? Right. Hairbrain, right. Clearly this is yet another case of just because you can doesn't mean you should, I suppose. The point is, my calculations are flawless. The science works. But without a particle demonstration, it means nothing. I mean, practical demonstration, it means nothing. And that's always the fly in the ointment.
Because practical demonstrations cost a lot of money. Money that young scientists like you don't have.
Right. And that's why you got the sponsor. Mr. Stinky sponsored you, like an investor. Well, the question is, why? Somehow I don't imagine a bourgeois crime lord would take a sudden interest in the laser beam. I mean, setting aside how cool it is and how everyone on this earth should love the idea, I feel like there was some ulterior motive behind Mr. Stinky's actions then. Maybe it was he had some way to stand a profit, maybe. And I don't think it's just from, well, the actual earnings from the science working out and becoming a product. That's exactly it, yes.
Hurley's always complaining about it. He says the government should invest more in science.
Well, anyway, I bumped into him at the right time. I met the well-known investor, Mr. Stinky. The victim who died in yesterday's terrible accident, you mean? But first, tell me about the Reaper. Oh, I hate how my brain works. I have a confession to make. Every time I hear a character say, the Reaper, my brain just thinks of that one cutscene in the video game Just Cause 2. Now, when that game first came out, like over a decade ago, it was quite infamous on YouTube as an example of bad voice acting, but to my best knowledge, actually, it's actually kind of correct and actually how people speak, but I just can't forget this one cutscene where this lady talks to the protagonist and she's like, "My name is Bolo Santosi. They call me, I'm a leader of the revolutionaries known as the Reapers." Or something like that. I just can't stop thinking about that. Frickin' Bolo Santosi, man. I wonder if anyone else watching this knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, I understand Lord Van Zieks is a friend of yours from your university days. Yes, that's right. He was studying law whilst I was studying science. What was he like back then? A good question. Unassuming, gentlemanly, and all-around nice fellow, really. Sorry, I think you misheard me. I'm talking about the cold-hearted, merciless prosecutor Barak von Zieks. What was he like when he was at university?
Talk about a leading question, Runo.
As I said, an unassuming and extremely pleasant gentleman. After all, he is the little darling of the Van Zieks family with all its great aristocratic origins. Ooh.
didn't realize he had quite such noble blood.
Little darling? Is he the youngest child? It was a bit of a shock when I came back to Britain and learned what he'd become.
The Reaper of the Bailey, no less.
Yes, that's right.
I did hear, though, that there was a very big event in his life that completely changed him after graduation. Really?
Oh, really? What sort of event?
Arg! I'm sorry, but I don't know anymore. I wasn't in the country at the time. I was in Germany already.
Oh, yes, of course. If he's heard all about the Reaper, I really don't have the heart to tell him that Lord Van Zieks will be the prosecutor in court tomorrow. The full name of the man who died in yesterday's accident was Mr. Stinky, wasn't it? What exactly was your relationship with the man?
He first visited me in my laboratory in Germany a year ago now. He said he wanted to invest in my immaculate hypothesis. I thanked my lucky stars.
I see. So you hadn't really known each other until then.
Money for scientific research. I'm so envious.
Good on Iris for using the correct usage. So many people say jealous when they mean envious. Jealous refers to being afraid that someone will steal it from you, like jealously hoarding money or something. Envious is desiring what another person has.
As far as I was concerned, the man was an angel.
Oh, really?
An archangel, even. He was prepared to fund a practical demonstration of my hypothesis for presentation at the Great Exhibition. And if that went well, I could expect additional financial support for my research from the British government. Mr. Stinky provided me with money and an exceptional engineer. He produced a machine to my precise specifications. But then your dreams were blown to dust in one enormous explosion. As you can see, I owed everything to Mr. Stinky. I would never, ever have thought of taking the man's life.
Well, he seems genuine enough. I don't think he's lying. So, Professor, let me just make absolutely sure I've understood you properly. The huge explosion that occurred yesterday, that was an accident, you're saying? You had no intent to harm the victim, who was in fact the sole investor in your work, is that correct?
As correct as 2 squared is 4, I swear it. Yes, it's true that the man perished in a machine of my invention. So I know that I'm far from blameless in all this, but still, I would never use my discoveries, my inventions to take a person's life, not in a centillion years. I'm a man of science, it's all I know. You have to believe me, please. Do you believe me? Do you believe in my hypothesis? Science is the pursuit of truth, you know. I've always believed that all my life.
I'm afraid I don't know much about science or your theories, but I do believe you, and I will fight to prove your innocence with all my might. I'm a man of the law, it's all I know. You have to believe me, please.
When I went to live in Germany after I graduated, I learned something very important. Nationality, class, lineage, none of that matters. As long as you try your hardest, you can achieve anything.
Thank you for that, Professor.
And thank you in advance for defending me tomorrow in court. All right, Runo, it's time. Time to visit the Great Exhibition.
Sorry?
Well, That's where the incident happened, isn't it?
Yes, I suppose that's true. Time to investigate at last. Hell yeah. Well, good chat. Good chat, Hairbrain. I like him. Let's head right there. Okay, well, my eye is certainly drawn to the piece of machinery leaning against that tree. The showgrounds are a little too big for my liking. Oh, and there's a scrap of green something on the bottom, right below the history button. We've been walking around in dense crowds for 2 hours now, and I felt myself swooning 3 times.
There are a lot of people, aren't there? I've almost been trodden on 3 times too.
Be careful, won't you, Iris? Don't let go of my hand. We finally made it through the thrones, though, by the look of it. Here we are underneath the public experimentation stage where the explosion happened yesterday. Oh. It certainly shot into the tower. Or, well, that's just what I'm assuming. Is there a kerfuffle happening in the distance? Distant yelling? What's that? I can hear voices from up on the stage. It sounds like an argument. Hey! No way! How about that? I think she must be the engineer hired by Mr. Stinky to work and build this. Huh. Well, good to see you again, Gina.
Alright, I've had it with you this time. I'm warning you, I'll arrest you in a minute. Oh yeah? Go on then, Spectre. Give it a shot. You ain't got no evidence, and you know it.
Wait, I know those voices.
You've got a cheeky little mouth on you, young lady, but a night in the cells will teach you some manners.
I mean, wouldn't be your first time in the cells.
Just try it, I dare ya, if you want that bag of chips rammed down your throat.
It looks like he's doing enough ramming for the both of you. Hump, hump, hop, 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 hop. I can't resist.
Yoo-hoo! Greg Z, what are you doing up there?
Ah! Ah! It's you! Here! You're here! Here, your ladyship!
How are you, your ladyship? I do hope you're well, your ladyship.
Does that make her 3 times a lady?
I'm not well at all. It's far too busy everywhere. I wanted to ride in a balloon, but there was a 3-hour queue. Unbelievable. I'll go and have a word for you at once, your ladyship. You'll be flying as high as a kite in no time once I pull some strings for ya.
Tobias Gregson, an inspector at Scotland Yard. Until recently, he was suspended from duty, but it would appear he's back in action now. He's actually quite well known, appearing as he does in The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. And for that reason, he can't say a word wrong to the story's author, Iris. But there are limits, surely. Or there should be. Watch it, sunshine. Sorry.
What gives, then? Don't tell me you're on this case.
We are, and this is probably the best place to end things for now. I can't believe Kazuma Asogi's alive. Or is it Asogi Kazuma? Right, Asogi is this family name, but this game uses the English version of Japanese name ordering, so... Kazuma. Kazuma's alive. Even Ryunosuke kind of knows. He has a hunch. I don't know how to feel. God, I hope they pull it off. God, I hope they make it satisfying. I think I've said all I can on Kazuma already, so... great to see Gina again. I assume she's the engineer, yeah. I really like Professor Hairbrain. And all this new information about Van Zieks. At last we're getting to know the man. And yeah, he seems like a good person, even if he is intensely racist. Scratch that, he's not nice at all. He's letting something bad that happened to him color his perception of entire nationality of people. That's fucked up and not okay. But I will say that, yeah, putting his own life at risk if it means carrying the Reaper persona and letting crime rates go down out of the fear of his persona, yeah, that's virtuous. I'll give him that. And the Van Zieks family. That floor-to-ceiling portrait depicts someone from the family. I wonder if that was a family member who maybe died at the hands of a Japanese individual. There's something that happened that made Van Zieks, well, I guess I should start clarifying, made Barrack Van Zieks hate the Japanese. Maybe that person memorialized on the wall, maybe, has something to do with it, maybe? Just a lot of conjecture at this point. I can't stop thinking about Kazuma. It's really him, isn't it? I mean, don't confirm it one way or the other, but I'm like 99.99% certain now. Maybe a few more nines for good measure. Well, at any rate, looking forward to examining the crime scene, maybe meeting more witnesses. I'm sure we'll speak to Gregson here and Gina at length, but it would be nice if there were a few others. God, this almost feels like it could be the fifth case, the final case, but no, this is numero 3. There's still 2 more cases after this. I just hope they don't, like, keep the whole Kazuma mystery masked man thing going on for too long, because I've already figured it out. I've officially run out of things to say, so I'm Zephyr the Jester. Thank you for watching. Hopefully I'll catch you next time. So until then, please take care.